Hey guys, welcome to the next installment of Cerebral Stick Up. And today we have a very special guest for you. She's a fitness athlete, to be specific in the figure division. She's an NPC. She just competed, looked incredible. And we're going to talk to her a little bit about training, nutrition, what it takes to get to the level that she's at, and how professional career. So please, guys, welcome Landra Tieman.
Okay, perfect. We got
Awesome.
it. Sorry.
Technology. It's always a hassle.
Yeah,
So how's everything going?
it's good. It's good. It was a nice long weekend. It was my birthday weekend, so
Okay, cool.
I had some
It
fun.
looks like you got the tan off. You were
Yes, yeah. Last week I was pretty orange.
so do you just do like a spray tan like right before the show, or are you tan like throughout like your prep occasionally?
I just do it right before the show. So the night before, I go get that
Mm-hmm.
tan, and then I usually have to get touch-ups the following morning.
Mm-hmm.
So
How do you sleep like that? Like you just try not to turn, or like how does that work?
yeah, so I basically just lay back and put my feet up, and I try not to move
Try not to move.
much. I don't sleep much the night before shows, so
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Is
uh,
it like because of anxiety or?
yeah, anxiety, and then it's really uncomfortable, just to
Yeah.
lay
Yeah.
there really still. I have slept before, and like I wake up with it's really weird. You must move a lot and sleep in
Mhm.
random positions because I'll like wake up with handprints like across my chest or across my back, and I'm like, how
Yeah.
did that happen?
What were you doing that happened? That's so
Yeah,
funny.
what was I dreaming about? But
Maybe you were posing like in the middle of your sleep.
maybe you
Uh,
never know.
so how did you get into like fitness and training in general?
Yeah, so way back in middle school, high school, I used to be a gymnast, and um, I did that all throughout high school. And then I went to college and kind of fell off track and had more fun doing things I shouldn't be doing. But then I kind of had to reevaluate my life and think, I want to move forward. I want to do something. So I got a job at a gym and started working out again. And I realized how much I really enjoyed it. And it just kind of brought me back to living a more healthy lifestyle. And I did see a female competitor at the gym, and I kind of thought, you know what, I want to do what she does.
Mhm.
So I just made it a goal to step on stage, and here we are 7 years later and still doing it.
Awesome. So you're in figure, correct?
I am. Yep. Now I started out in bikini and
Hmm.
kind of worked my way up. I also I have competed in the fitness division as well, which I love. But
Hmm.
it's also the fitness division. It's very hard on your joints and your body, and
Hmm. So
so
that's what I was actually getting at, because I know like a lot of, so I interviewed some of the fitness competitors. Usually like the people that I interview the most are fitness and figure for some reason. And
yeah.
a lot of the fitness competitors, they have gymnastic backgrounds. So that's what I was getting. And I was like, how come, you didn't go into, stick with that? But you're saying it's because of the wear and tear on your joints.
Yep. So as I mentioned before, I was in gymnastics back in middle school and high school. And I actually have had three knee surgeries. So
Ooh.
I blew out my knee 3 times, dislocated my kneecap, tore my MCL. So I'm still dealing with the issues of that right now. And basically, the doctors have said that I can pretty much do no more harm than what I've
Mm-hmm.
already done. So at this point, it's either I deal with it or I just quit. So
So when you say you had knee surgeries, are we talking about like reattaching like tendons and muscles, or did you have a replacement, complete replacement?
I haven't had a complete replacement, but that is in my future.
Mhm.
They've told me ideally probably when I'm 50, 60, I'll need that total knee replacement. But they have had to reattach tendons and they had to kind of cut where my quad muscle connects somewhere by my knee. So
yeah.
if you look at my legs really closely, my one leg with my bad knee is quite a bit smaller than the other leg. So that's something that is difficult for me to do on stage, is kind of try and hide the fact that one of my quads is a lot bigger and one of my legs is just bigger all the way around.
Mm-hmm. How did you, do you remember tearing, like what you did to tear it? Was it on a move, like some kind of tumbling move, or did this happen in training? Or
So the first time it happened, I was on the vault, which if you're not familiar with gymnastics, it's the one where you run down the runway and then jump off a springboard, land on the vault, and kind of catapult over it. So I did that, and I was just learning how to twist coming off of it, and I landed when I was still twisting. So when I landed, my knee kind of jerks and kneecap popped out of place, and I tore my MCL. So that's the first time that it happened. And then it also happened once when I was doing my floor routine, the same thing.
So that just hurts even like hearing about it. That's terrible.
It was quite the experience, because back then I think I was either 12 or 13 when it happened, and so my kneecap was actually stuck over to the side, but they couldn't move it back into place until they got a hold of my parents, because I was a minor, so I had to sit down waiting for them to get a hold of my parents, who were not. It happened when I was out of town at like a gymnastics conference, so they were trying to make phone calls back and forth. So yeah, I had to sit in the ER with my kneecap kind of backwards, and
that sounds horrible. Was it a lot of pain, or was the shock kind of taken over?
I think it was both. I mean, yeah, it was painful. I definitely was crying, but I think there is a shock factor as well, because I'm a little 12-year-old kind of looking at my leg, which looks like it's backwards right now, and not really knowing what to think about that.
Yeah, I have very, very little gymnastic experience, but so originally I was born in Russia, and when I was younger, I got into like a lot of like combat sports, and along with that, like some gymnastics as well. And the intensity that some of these, and mind you, I was nowhere like even near to the level that even you probably were, but just looking at some of these girls and guys when they're hitting their moves or they're landing so intensely that I could definitely see if you make one wrong twist, one wrong, placement of your feet, and it's, it could definitely, go badly. Does that happen like often? Is gymnastics like a injury prone sport?
It is. I think, as with every sport, it has its, downfalls and things that can happen that are very easily, if you land wrong, then something bad could happen, or, and it's just all of the events have the bars, the vault, the floor, the beam. They all have their disadvantages, but I think that is what makes athletes great, as well as we know the risks, but we also learn how to perform those as best as we can to avoid those risks. Obviously, they still happen. In the fitness division, I really commend those girls, especially the ones who compete, at the Arnold or the Mr. Olympia, and even just at the amateur level, because in gymnastics, it's basically a floor routine is what you're doing kind of on stage. But gymnasts kind of have that bouncy floor. Whereas when you're a fitness competitor, you have the stage, and sometimes that stage has no bounce to it at all. So they are just landing on that hard surface and just doing amazing skills.
Yeah. From what I hear now, I guess if I'm not mistaken, isn't Adela Garcia coming back to fitness? Did you hear?
I have heard something about it. I haven't done a lot of research, but I do know that the Olympia this year is going to be a really amazing fitness division.
Yeah, I think it's pretty stacked, and I think that threw a curveball to some of the other girls who thought like she was completely retired, you know. So, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's going to be really fun to watch, and I'm super excited to see all of those amazing ladies on stage.
Yeah, very much so. So at this point, how do you train with your legs, with your leg, you know, being so compromised? Because from everything that I know, and I might be mistaken, so tell me, you know, if that's not the case, but anytime you injure something like that, you have a torn muscle or ligament or anything like that, it tends to be more prone and easily retorn again. So with you training, prepping for a show, so, you know, such as the one you just had, how do you like compensate for that?
Yeah, so, you know, legs are my weakness. So I have a very strong upper body, and then my legs have always kind of been my weakness. And I'm not 100% sure if that's because of my knee injury. But I do try and push myself as hard as I can on leg day. I might have to compromise some of the exercises I do. I always wear a knee brace, one that has kind of the stability around the kneecap, just so it kind of stays in place. So if I do leg day, if I know I'm doing squats or leg press or jumps or anything like that, I make sure to wear a knee brace. You know, but I found that doing lunges is very painful for my knee, so I try to avoid them. I'll do them now and then, but I just kind of try and, I know like if I do like front squats sometimes hurt my knees. So if I do wide stance squats, that doesn't hurt as bad. So I just try and alter what I'm doing.
Just maneuver.
Yeah.
So when you say your legs are your weakness, and you do look like you have like longer legs. So do you like are you trying to put on more mass onto your legs? Is that like, okay. So, so how do you, so like, let's say, okay, so your goal is to put on like more mass on your legs. Like, where does that come from? Does it come from just more intensity in training, like heavier weights, eating a certain way? Like, how do you do that?
So, you know, it'd be a combination of both. And this past year, I actually have put on some more size and seen more cuts in my legs, which is amazing for me. So ideally, you know, in the off season, I eat a lot more kind of around my workout. So my pre-workout meal has more carbs in it, and then my post-workout meal definitely has a lot more carbs in it. But then I also I have upped my leg training to 3 days a week. So I have, you know, a quad focus day, a hamstring focus day, and then kind of a glute and full leg day. And so I think the 3 leg days a week, it's brutal, but it has helped me. And then, so it's just in the off season, I did a lot heavier weights, lower reps. Now that I'm kind of in prep, or I was in prep, it changed a little bit. I did a little bit higher reps, but still focusing on lifting as heavy as I can while keeping a good form and all of that. But then it's really making sure that you are eating correctly before that workout and after that workout, and kind of giving those muscles what they need.
Gotcha. I was curious when you said three leg days a week. I was like, well, do you have the time to recover from those workouts? But it sounds like you're splitting the body parts of the leg up, so it's not like you're hitting the same ones.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's a love-hate relationship, but now that I've been doing it, I started doing 3 leg days a week last November. And I think I've taken like 1 week off since then. And it's hard to do that. Now I kind of look forward to those leg days simply because they're brutal. And I guess I just love a challenge. So the harder it is for me, the more challenging, that's what I want.
Gotcha.
I just sent my coach an email to have her send me some new workouts, and I told her to make me work as hard as I could for it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to those workouts.
So speaking of that, who coaches you?
So my coach is Kathy Kemper.
Okay.
She's an IFBB figure pro,
Okay.
and she lives in North Dakota. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So how long have you guys been working together?
I believe this is my 3rd year with her.
Third year. Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, on stage you look really good. So um, you just did junior nationals, right?
I did the junior USA's.
Junior USA's. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and you came in at what placing?
So I came in 5th place.
Okay.
It was my first figure national show. So I guess I'm not too upset with that. I wanted to be top 5, and I hit
Mm-hmm.
that 5th place. What kind of was a little bit of a bummer is I really wanted to get first call out.
Mm-hmm.
And at that show, they only called out 4
Mm-hmm.
for first call outs. And then I got second call out, and I just stood there and I kept saying, please move me to the center, please move me to the center. And then they called my number and I was placed right in the center. And I was very happy with that, because I knew that kind of meant I probably had that 5th place spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting how that works, right? Because I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, like 5th place, your first time out to the USA's is great. So there's nothing to be ashamed of there. But it's interesting how it works, because it's all about comparisons. So
Yeah.
if you do get that call out in the first call out, now you're being compared to the 1 through 4 or whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
you very well could have been like, whatever, like second,
Yeah.
third, but because you got that second call out, now that they're not even comparing you with the first group, which
Yeah.
really is a disadvantage, to you. It doesn't really give you like that ability to even compete with those. It's almost like
Yeah.
they kind of cut your string, like before you even get an opportunity to, to showcase.
Yeah, to kind of fight for my spot, and it would have been amazing if I could have had that chance. Maybe I would have placed, 4th or
Mm-hmm.
3rd, but it is what it is. And I
Mm-hmm.
still came out with a 5th place, and I know what I need to work on to improve. And it was a good experience, especially with the whole COVID thing. And, everybody was learning how to kind of maneuver a show during this whole thing that's going on. So all of it was new to everybody. The backstage experience was way different than anything I've ever been through before.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it was a good experience, and I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah. Who would have thought we'd be in this spot right now before March, like that
Yeah.
everybody would be wearing masks, things would be shut down all over the place. Everybody, no more concerts, no more anything like that. It's a crazy, crazy time we live in.
Yes.
So for this prep, doing it while COVID is around, did that have much of an effect? I mean, eating wise, it probably didn't, but what about
Mhm.
training? Like, how did that affect you?
So my training, it did a little bit. We actually, my fiance and I, he helped me build a little gym in the basement.
Mm.
So there was a time when only 10 people were allowed in my gym. And I worked there as a trainer and a class instructor part-time. So I felt I felt like I should not be taking one of those spots, because the other people probably need them
Mm.
more than me. And since I work there, I should be able to kind of let other people come in and work out. So we built a little gym in our basement, just a few bars, some weights, and one squat rack. And I kind of just did some home workouts for a few months, which I actually enjoyed. And I was still able to push myself. I just had to be a little bit more creative in the ways that I did that.
Mm.
But as far as training goes, I mean, I'm going to work my butt off, whether I'm at home, I'm outside with 0 weights, or I'm in the gym. I'm going to be giving it 110%. And I am going to make sure that I'm the hardest worker around.
Well, that's the way to get to the top. Sure.
Yeah.
But you obviously work very hard, but the fact of the matter is that you weren't at a full gym. Do you think it, and don't just agree with me or anything like that, but do you think it affected your development for this show, or do you think it doesn't really matter? You pretty much have the best development you could have had.
It might have affected it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like the leg days, because I didn't have a leg press, or
Mm-hmm.
we don't have heavy weights,
Right.
so I couldn't do like heavy squats or heavy
Right.
deadlifts, and like the leg extensions, all of that.
Yeah.
I didn't really have access to,
Yeah.
but I still think I incorporated every muscle group
Mm-hmm.
and tried to hit them as best as I could. So, it's a good question. It possibly could have. I do know that when you start doing different workouts, sometimes they can help your body see more improvements, and sometimes they can't. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I kind of so like when this COVID thing happened, I like everybody, I was rushing to try to find some weights and everything. So which, of course, they were super expensive because everybody was charging like 10 times the price for, even a dumbbell. But we finally, like, Academy Sports around us finally got some kettlebells and some plates and things. So me and my wife got like a makeshift gym going, and it worked for me, and I'm fairly heavier guy, like I'm about 260, and it kept the muscle on. But then when the gyms opened up and I went back to the gym, I could feel the difference in just my body, like the difference between working out at home and working out at the gym. So it's like the home workouts weren't terrible, and they did do what they meant to be done, but it's a little bit of a different experience, when you have all that equipment available to you.
It definitely is, and I could definitely tell the difference too, from working out at home to working out at the gym. But I think that's too what kind of separates maybe those who were successful during the quarantine and those athletes who actually stepped on stage at Junior USA's. We had to push through that, and we had to be creative and try and bring our best, even though we might not have a gym. And some other people just kind of were like, well, this isn't going to work, so we'll try next year.
I think that is the difference. Some people just pushed through it and did what they had to do, and then others just kind of cut their season short. So how was so that's the training. How was your diet and your cut for this show? Like, do you keep carbs in all the way through? How do you approach your nutrition?
Every prep for me is different. I actually did compete in June as well.
Okay.
And that was actually a natural competition. So I am an IPE figure pro, which is a natural federation. So I competed in June, and then my coach and I have found out that my body responds really well after a show. So for me to get to that first show, like, I have to really start cutting out carbs, and I have to kind of suffer a lot to get on stage for the first show I do every season. And then it's like, once I step off that stage, my metabolism just like shoots up, and I get like double the carbs and extra meals and more cheat meals. And so after my show in June, my body kind of responded really well, and I got to eat more. For this last show, I didn't have to do any 0 carb days or anything like that. My carbs did get really low, but for that show in June, I did have to have a couple 0 carb days each week, and my carbs were just almost non-existent. So, but every prep is different for me. So,
gotcha.
Some days
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes I get to eat a lot. Sometimes I get very low carbs. Some days some preps, I get cheat meals all the way until about 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. And some preps, you know, I've gone 6 weeks without a cheat meal. So
Gotcha. Did so I was going to ask you about that IPE because I saw that on your page. You're an
yeah.
IPE pro, and I know that you were competing NPC. So I was like, "What is that? I've never heard of that IPE." So that's a natural like organization.
Yep.
How does
So
yeah, I was going to ask you, how does that work? Do they have like a list of things you can't take? Is there
mhm.
you know, do they test you? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so there is a banned list of substances that you cannot take, and it's, you know, all the growth hormones,
Hmm.
steroids, um, PEDs, all of that.
Hmm.
It's, you know, they want you to be 100% natural,
Right.
which is what I am. So I compete 100% natural. So,
Gotcha.
um, and I like the two different federations. One, because I do like being on the same playing field as everybody,
Hmm.
as the IPE Pro shows. You have to do a polygraph test, and then you also have to take a urine test.
Wow.
And it's basically for the past 7 years, they don't want you to have used any growth hormones or steroids or anything like that.
How do they feel about diuretics? Do they let you do diuretics pre-show or no?
So, yep, as long as it's, there are legal ones, dandelion root.
Right.
I usually use the one that's called Expel.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
there, I think the rule is, you know, not using them before like 7 days before you step on stage or something.
Gotcha. So I mean, that's pretty strict. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
pretty strict way of doing it for sure. So
yeah.
so at this point, you know, you get fifth place. You probably could have done better if you know, with the first call out. Like, what are your plans? Are you going to compete later on in the year? Are you just shutting it down till next year?
You know, and that I'm not 100% sure. I am actually getting married in 1 month.
Oh,
So,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. So that's kind of my number one focus right now.
Right.
As much as I love competing and I want to continue to push and do better, I also have some other priorities that I need to
Obviously,
focus on.
yes.
So, and we're getting married actually in Florida. So I
Oh,
live in
awesome.
South Dakota right now. So it's a destination wedding. So
Very cool.
we're really
Yeah,
excited
my
about that.
yeah, my
Yeah.
wife is from Florida, so we got
Oh,
married there as well. Yeah.
cool. What part did you guys get married in?
So we were around the Tampa area. It was like
Okay.
Brandon, Tampa area. What about you?
We're getting right around there too, Anna Maria Island.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's so how is the did you guys check as far as like the restriction? Because I know for a while, and I haven't heard anything really recently, but the Florida was like an epicenter of the pandemic. Have you guys like heard any kind of like issues that you might run into or anything like that going down there?
You know, we've talked to the lady at the resort. She says that everything's running normal at the resort.
Oh,
As far
perfect.
as, yeah, as far as the wedding, like we have to wear a mask when we check in, but
Oh,
that's not it. Some of the restaurants do require
yeah.
masks, which they do around here as well.
Right.
But you know, we just kind of made the final decision
Hmm.
this yesterday actually that we were going to do this, and
Right.
it's going to happen. So it's kind of been a lot of weight on my shoulders
Of
because
course.
it's like everybody that you talk to are either on this extreme or this extreme, and
Sure.
everyone was like, you need to go, you need to do it. And then other people were like, I would never ever go there, I would never have my family travel. And
Hmm.
um, so for me it was a lot of what should I do,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure that everybody's safe, and it's going to be a small wedding. I think
Hmm.
there's 15 of us
Oh
that are
yeah,
going, but it's still my
that's very doable.
responsibility.
Yeah, that's very doable, and I mean, it sounds like you made the right call. Honestly, if you know, if someone was waiting to get married to for this pandemic to pass, you know, you might be waiting for a while.
Yeah, we
So
don't know when it's going to end. And
yeah,
you know, those people who were like, why don't you just do it next year? And the same thing might be happening. So
absolutely. Yeah.
we might as well just get it done. And move
Yeah.
forward.
So I guess you're just gonna think about your next show and everything after your wedding, and everything kind of settles
Hmm.
down. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I want to have a fun wedding week, so there will be some drinks and some food and
Yeah.
a lot less training.
Yeah,
So
no
it's
zero,
really
no
hard
zero
to,
carb days. Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to commit to a show when I know I might not be bringing, 100%. So,
Right. Gotcha. So, I was going to ask you a couple of like theoretical questions. So what do you
yeah.
think about like, so there's, a big debate as far as like calories in and versus calories out is how you like get in shape. And some
Mhm.
people, approach it with the macro aspect of it. Like it doesn't matter what kind of calories you take in or how much calories you take in. It matters about like the macro profile of the calories. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think about that?
Well, I am one that tracks my macros and not my calories. Um, so that's what works for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be different for everybody's
Yeah.
because I work with clients as well. I'm a trainer and
Okay.
an online trainer, and I've had some clients where we just focus on calories because the macros, they can be confusing and it can be difficult. So some people just want that calorie count. This is what
Mm-hmm.
they want to hit, and that works very well for them.
Yeah.
As far as building muscle, maintaining, losing, I think maybe the macros would be a better choice just
Mm-hmm.
because you can choose the higher quality um, food. So
Right.
the better proteins, the better carbs, the good fats, and kind of put them into your macros.
Yeah. So you think that maybe when people just focus on calories, they don't really focus on the kinds of foods that they eat, and they could get into a
Yeah,
trap of just eating, trash as long as they fit the
yeah,
calories, So yeah.
yeah. You look at a package of Oreos and like, oh, I could fit 4 of these into my day.
Yeah, very true. So, and the second question I wanted to ask, we talked a little bit about, and the subject matter of PEDs and things is, it's a touch and go thing. I know you said you're 100% natural and we know that obviously bodybuilding a lot of times is not.
Mhm.
Do you feel like pressure because it seems like everyone is getting bigger? Like I don't know if you've seen that, like the figure girls are getting
Yeah,
bigger. Even the bikini girls are looking like figure.
yeah.
I was talking to, I don't know if you're aware who Ava Cohen is, but I was
Mhm.
talking to her just recently, and we were just kind of going over that as far as like when in her um, time, like the figure girls look so much different than they do now. And, obviously all the divisions are getting bigger, men and women.
Yeah.
You like, what do you think about that? Do you think it's just a natural progression that just happens, or do you think they need to somehow control that? Like, you have any thoughts on that kind of subject?
Yeah, I think that they should kind of work on controlling it just because every year it's crazier how much bigger the girls are getting and the guys as well. And it's like there's no end in sight. We've done comparisons on the figure Olympia pros, 5, 6, 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they're smaller than what the bikini pros are now.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that. As a natural athlete, yeah, it's hard because I feel like eventually there's just going to be no chance
Right.
for us natural athletes. And when I first started getting into bodybuilding, I did all the research and realized just how prominent steroid use and growth hormones and all of that was.
Mm-hmm.
But I made a pact to myself that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it naturally. And we were just going to see how far I could go
Mm-hmm.
as a natural competitor. I wanted to stay true to myself. I have a little brother and some, little cousins, and I don't want them to think, okay, in order to get muscles, I have to use steroids or I have to
Right.
do this.
Right.
I want them to know, no, if you put in the work every day, like you're gonna grow.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's,
But
I mean, that's a good point. And, I was even thinking about like the physique girls, which are, they're much bigger, but that when they first initially put that division into place, they were smaller, and now they're like, they're getting to the point where they're almost as big as like what, bodybuilding was considered
yeah.
to be, which is why they took away essentially bodybuilding at first. And yeah, it's just the lines get blurred, between divisions,
Mhm.
and you can't really figure out what's what.
Yeah, and I think maybe they need to just even revamp the rules on how the girls are supposed to look for
Mhm.
the rule or for the divisions, because if you read how the bikini girl is what they're being judged on, and then the figure girl and what they're being judged on, um, it kind of doesn't work with the judging now with the girls that you see winning.
Right.
um,
Yeah, very true.
so,
What do you think about the wellness division? Do you think it's a positive to, bring that in? I just saw Renee Jewett. I think she
yeah,
just she just got her pro card, and a couple of others. Um,
she looks
so
amazing.
so yeah, she does. So what do you think about that division? You think it's a pro?
I Yeah, I love the wellness division.
Mm.
So that the wellness look, that is my goal look. And obviously, like I said, my legs are my weakness. So I don't think I'll ever get to compete in that division. Maybe in another life, I pray. Um, but the wellness division, I absolutely love that division. I think the girls who do have the massive, you know, legs and the ability to have those quads and hamstrings and the glutes. I think that they need a division like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to see the wellness division come up, and I think there's going to be a lot of potential for so many women in that division.
Yeah, it was huge. It still is very huge in the Spanish speaking countries and some European
Mm-hmm.
countries, and it's good to see it come here. And it definitely is a genetic component to it, much like everything else. I do feel like you're with your look, you've got a great look for figure, and I think if you continue with that, like I think you'll be very successful. So, which you are now, but even more so in the future. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and it's been really fun.
Yep, awesome. So, if someone wanted to reach you for like online coaching, training, advice, whatever you want to plug in,
Mhm.
you want to go ahead and plug those in. I'll add them to the bottom of the video as well. But if you want to just verbally say it.
Yeah, so on Instagram, my name or my handle is landra.elisabeth with an S, not a Z. But there's a link on my bio to my website, which has my packages, or you can always just reach out through messaging. And I'm also on Facebook as Landra Elizabeth Training, so you can message me on there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. And guys, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit the bell button at the bottom. Landra, we're very grateful to have you, and thank you for your time. I know you're a very busy person, but you have a great rest of the day. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.